Chairman.
Look what you made me do.
Roll call. Chai?
Yeah.
Crony?
Here.
Holmes?
Here.
Josephson?
Here.
Parker?
Aye.
Parsons?
Here.
Reed here. Sheffield? Not present. Sturgill-Lucy? Not present. Huh? Yes.
She's known as Fingers, Sturgill-Lucy, from this point on.
Hang Big?
That is almost
That's
Not here. Cheshire not
You
here.
know, when you use it.
You have the meetings with your packet for the meetings of June 26th, July 1st, July 8th. Patty, are there other meetings coming?
There are other meetings coming up. Also, these minutes have been prepared through a compiled effort of my listening to the tapes, the Kelly girl listening to the tapes, and my going over her minutes of some meetings that even I wasn't here. So if there are any corrections at all, don't hesitate to offer your changes in the schedule.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Just to roll. Welcome.
Just started rolling. Then we'll expect at the next meeting to approve these. Hope you'll have time to read them, and we're going to have them approved next meeting. No appearance requests. And our first order of business is the unfinished business of the public
Don't
information.
go away.
Yeah, let's hear what you have to say.
Jane?
I would like my staff person to report. In fact, I don't know what.
Okay. Have you all seen the pictures of the black and whites that have been taken
No.
to the commission?
Yes.
Well, they should be shown.
Should we go get them?
Okay. Would you? I appreciate it. They're right on the desk on the corner there. Okay. He's been waiting for the slides to come in. He's been checking his mailbox every day, and they still haven't come in. He's leaving town tomorrow and will leave me his post office box with the slides. All right, let's start here. Okay.
Well, they should be seen by the principal.
Yeah, and he's done some really.
You got a black hat on.
He's done an excellent job.
Yeah, he's done some good
I'm the
things.
guy in the white hat.
And I'm holding up. We took another picture of Sherry today, and holding up on putting together the media kit. Hopefully, it'll come out the weekend of the 31st for the media kit, which will be to the 2 newspapers and to the 3 TV stations with photographs and slides, and we'll exclude pictures. We'll exclude the pictures on the radio stations, of course. Mr. Fisher took a real good picture. Pass those around. If I get too verbose, please holler, okay?
Yeah.
The speaking schedules are on the wall in the room in there. There's a big, brilliant, vibrant, positive orange-colored chart on the wall.
Does it have spaces?
Yes, it has spaces. And keeping in mind some dates, we have Friday, July 25 for Spenard Rotary, which is tomorrow at Andy's International Inn with Frank and Mary. Is that right, Mary? Okay.
The Frank and Mary.
Frank and Mary show.
Frank and
International
Oh, these are.
I thought you said they.
It's what's been changed. They're trying it out to see if they like it. They may switch from the Gold Rush over to Spenard Rotary. And then
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, President, I've got it, here's Jim Sutherland. Program Chairman, you're right, is George Easley. Then Wednesday, by demand for a second time around at the Spenard Lions Club on July 30th, Wednesday, I have Frank and Joe. Is that right?
Is that all right with you, Joe, or is
That's Wednesday, July 30th.
The old girl looks drunk.
I like that. That's a good picture.
Andy's International Inn?
Okay, that's the one I had a question mark on whether it was Sherry or Joe, and Sherry was unfamiliar.
That'll be remembered by anybody can see.
Okay.
That's a
Okay.
good gimmick. That's what counts. Drives the gimmicks.
Now,
Remembering.
I need to back up a day. Tuesday, July 29th, Al Shuey of the Kiwanis at noon in the Commodore Room of the Westwood would like some speakers. So that's Tuesday next week at noon. The Commodore, the Kiwanis. And I could utilize 2 names there if
See,
anyone
what's
is
the
open.
date on that?
That's my club.
July 29th, Kiwanis, noon,
What date?
Tuesday.
Jim, you and Arliss, what?
I don't know if Jim wants to go back on with
It's
me
my
or
club.
not.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good show today.
Really a good show?
I want you to wear tighter pants.
Okay,
Okay.
Jim and Arliss.
Okay, it's July 29th, Kiwanis where?
We're gonna do song and
At
dance.
the Westwood and the Commodore.
Mean they didn't show?
Okay.
Jim, I'm
Well,
listening
a
up
ruffled
and-
shirt.
We need an opposite of Fred on Thursday the 31st for the Republican Club.
Liberal.
Where? What,
Jane?
the
Okay.
31st?
Fred and Jane. 31st, that'll be at the Royal Inn.
Fred and Jane show.
I'm the
Okay.
communist and you're the one.
Socialist.
Okay. Now, as long as I'm writing names down, Tuesday afternoon at 2:30 at Channel 13, I need a couple to go over and do promos like we did this last week. We need 2 commissioners at 2:30 at Channel 13. Jane? I'll do it. Okay, Jane and Joe. Monday will be Sherry and Lisa. Last week, I think you went
Monday,
over.
Monday what
Monday
day?
where?
28th?
2:30 on the 28th.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Where are you, where's that?
Channel 13?
Oh, Sherry and Lisa?
Yeah, Sherry and Lisa will do just taping the promos for the week, announcing the program upcoming. And I want to thank Mary and Fred and Jim for this last week. They did promos for Channel 13.
What is promo?
Did they run them?
Well,
Promotions. I
it's,
realize that.
it's nothing,
It's just announcing
This
the
shop
Tuesday
talk.
evening program.
yeah.
The 3
Oh,
Tuesdays.
oh, oh,
The
oh.
29th, the 5th, and the 12th.
Have they been running?
Okay.
I don't know. Don't have TV?
Commissioner Angvik left a slave schedule for me to follow while she was gone, and so I'm reporting from points 1 through 7 on that as we go.
You're the renegade.
She really snapped the whip there just before she caught her plane.
He said I was no fun to work for.
Taping. The taping schedule and the television schedule is on the wall, and as long as I'm into that, I'll mention that I confirmed with Channel 7 today to do an hour workshop on the night before the election day. So this will be on the 6th. Channel 7, possibly between 9 o'clock and 10 p.m. Possibly formatting an opening by the commission, and then not on the air, but a workshop similar to site selection with questions and answers from the group
What date?
on the 8th. I said
I think
question and answers from
September 8th.
from the commission and the group for the other 45 minutes. And that'll be our last shot. Now, keeping in mind the night before that, we'll have a full commission telephone in on Channel 11. And that's on the board too in the other room. And keeping with media, I've confirmed some talk programming on KANC radio.
oh, they're kind of a
But
joke.
we don't have the times yet firmed up.
You listen to it?
Oh,
Some
except
voters do.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah.
Are they on the air?
Yeah.
This is your taping.
I didn't know kickers listened.
Okay. On to, under the third,
Oh, listen to Clyde Lewis tapes. That's amazing.
We'll get you some.
oh,
Here, just like that's what you do when we're untidy.
Breakfast.
we have on Tuesday night,
What happens if they don't want to us? Nobody will hear us.
Who's running for office?
first series of 3 programs on channel,
I didn't know you knew I was.
on channel
I got the word on you.
15.
Fingers,
What are
fingers
those?
sturgeon loose.
And do a little opening background on what the commission's history is, Tuesday night, the first of 3. They'll do about maybe a minute on what the history of the commission is. Then they'll do a 3-minute on the subject of the charter that night, which is what's the subject? Responsiveness in government. Okay, during that 3-minute, which is done by the MC, they want to have a quick slide throw on. So our graphics guy has been doing some things for the TV station to make slides of, and they're going to reproduce them free. And this has to do with the ombudsman
That's neat.
and cutting red tape.
No picture of a map.
That has to do with yapping dogs and disturbing neighbors at 11 o'clock at night. And
What have we done about that?
No. The intent is that
Clean us up.
what government means to people
Oh,
is not necessarily all the legalese that we've talked about here, but in effect it boils down to what does government mean to me? It means dogs, garbage, roads, things like that.
Slick ice,
Crap.
chuck holes, no problem. Okay, this is Welcome People. It's roughly small. I wanted him to make it bigger, and he will. To the new government.
it's really very, very good, isn't it?
Yeah, he
I don't know how
at first he kind of had an unwelcome city, unwelcome borough, and we
Did
push him around on that.
I think it's a good idea to make the people larger.
This
That's a
he,
sexy gal.
yeah.
Say, who'd you use for a model on this?
One wonders.
Hanging out on the
Well,
We could have her hold her finger out.
Looks like Benny Linnet with a wig.
at least the kid is smiling. Okay. Now, this is what he suggests for a logo. Now, that may take some time.
Good. It looks like the end of the world. What?
Well, he's liked everything else. He can't get 100%, but he's right.
What is it
Morning
supposed to
News
be?
had a semi-logo that showed the map
Those are
of the area.
Northern lights, I think, over the mountains.
Yeah.
But it looks like a...
Oh, is that what it is?
That's right.
It looks like Arliss's 30-mile segments.
Yeah,
Well,
that's right.
That's kind of what he was thinking of, having open the 3 minutes and close the 3 minutes. And now we
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
You know what it reminds me of? I see the word united and I'm thinking fund and that,
That's
that
what
all
I
that
thought of.
stuff is...
Oh,
That's what I
okay.
thought of when
Okay.
I looked at it.
I like
Can
the
we-
blue welcome mat.
No, that's not our logo.
No, let's
We're
not
down
use
to
United.
Anchorage. Let's not follow it up.
He's doing about 6 more tonight, and they all have to be into the station by tomorrow morning.
Those are neat.
Which I think
Yeah,
James
United.
Jane can tell what looks good if we need to.
United Fund.
She might not even need it, just anchor.
Okay, so we've sidetracked him a little bit to get into this TV thing, and so he's still working on the flip charts, 2, in addition to that. Okay. On the graphics, on the pamphlet, hopefully we can do some more questions tonight, and I've already got some here that have been turned in, and I've made contact with Phyllis Bradner to give us a hand on that. She'll be in town, and she said she would be happy to. And we're meeting tomorrow in the morning. On the workshop, we're still waiting word on possibilities of utilizing the Lucy Cuddy Center on the 12th, which is a Tuesday, which would be right after the TV program that night. TV program ends at 7. The workshop could start at 7:30.
You're
For
going
the
to try
community
kind of the
workshop.
format we've done with the capital budget.
Only with this won't be the TV studio thing.
You're gonna
This
invite
will be-
people.
Yeah, y'all come.
Y'all, but I mean specific y'all.
Yes.
For
No.
what?
No.
Yes, no?
No, there are 2 workshops. I'm sorry, I should not confuse you. There are 2 workshops. One's community on the 12th, And that's open invitation, everybody come, and this is where the video thing is used, where they pick up small groups, they edit it down, and then we release it.
Is Doug McConnell helping you?
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
then that's fine. I'm
Okay.
gonna-
And when are those scheduled?
And when's the
The
other
12th, be a Tuesday night.
When's the other workshop?
Okay,
Isn't that the same time that you've got your TV?
just after.
And there's only 3 or 4 people who are involved in the
Yeah,
TV thing.
3 possibly.
I don't want, I was under the impression we were also going to get a cross sample of people that we specifically asked to come to that.
That night too, yes.
What's the purpose of
When you have public hearings and public meetings, you generally get professional public meeting goers tours. And the intent of inviting a sample cross-section of people and really talking to them, asking them to come, is that you get a divergent point of view of people who would probably not normally end up coming to that kind of a thing.
But what is the purpose of the workshop?
The purpose of the workshop is for us to give information to them about what's in the charter, and for rather than, how do you think, how do you feel about it, it's going one step farther to what things can we do to implement this, so that they're thinking in a more positive way. Given the structure, and what are the things that would fill in the bare bones for you in relation to the things that are of concern to you?
It'll also give each of the commissioners a little more food for thought in the other speeches that'll be made during the rest of the month. It'll provide us with some tapes to provide to the stations for news and for public service discussions. We can edit it down to 5 minutes and 2 minutes. And, okay, that's right.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and it'll give us a working idea of how to perform the workshop when we get it onto Channel 7. And that'll be the control group. So this will be an open group, and the Channel 7 thing will be a control group, which will be invited from the survey center.
Channel 7 is the other workshop.
Yes, the second workshop will be a closed TV thing, which will be done at Channel 7. And that's, like I gave you the date earlier.
What is the date of that?
September 8th.
Which one?
The second one?
The second one will be on the night of the 8th.
For the election.
Okay. I don't think it was in the packet, and maybe, Mr. Reed, do you have that other set of information that I put down there with
I
questions?
sent it round. Everybody has it. in the
With
back
the
of it.
dollars
Yeah.
on it? Okay. Maybe I could have a copy of that too. Go over our shoulder. I ran across in my notes somewhere that someone had suggested that we be in touch with the city and see if we could get a utility mailer. And so I got into it, and sure enough we can, and this is how. And I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, but they circulate over a period of 4 weeks, 55,000 homes. Their cycle starts next Wednesday on the 31st of July. Mr. Sokel, and I'm not sure that I've spelled that properly, for the city utilities would need to approve the copy no later than Monday so we can have it printed. And Instant Printing gave us these figures for 3 possible ways to have it printed and the cost. So we could, what I had in mind was black lettering with maybe a red ball alongside each one of the things, or maybe a red hand pointing to the salient points. Yeah, even if you vote yes on the charter, just vote. Something like that. But they indicated if we wanted to go red and black on white, it would be $5.21 for 2 sides. If we wanted to go red and black one side, black or red on the other, one color, then it would be 442. And if we go just black or just red or whatever on both sides, it would be 382. And then the city would have a charge of $150 for their stuffing and the other work, just to kind of handle the thing and get it mailed. And so it would be, if you decided you'd like to do that, it would be any one of those three printing charges, depending on what you wanted, and then it would be a firm 150 on the other. And I have some thoughts on copy, which I scribbled down. I haven't really put them down in typing, but you want to hear these, or should I just run this through Jane's committee?
I don't know, pardon me for a moment. Rick, I know you have a date at 8.
That's all right. No, I'm okay, Frank.
You sure are, Rick.
So are all of you guys.
Okay.
If we get that a little better in print, I think it may sell.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, and so are all of you.
Mr. Sokel called back. He was very concerned that nothing political got into the announcement, which I assured him that's why I wanted him to clear it before we went to press.
Jobs on the line.
Could say something like notification of special election to unify municipal governments in Anchorage, or a vote to approve or disapprove the charter for unified government for Anchorage. And then the points to why voting. This would be to pass or not pass a charter, or to elect a mayor for Anchorage, to elect an assembly, to elect a school board, 3 members of the school board. Other points, you must be a registered voter. If you are not currently registered or have moved, you may register at the borough address or the other. I'd have to get the addresses. If you have any questions on the charter, and you give our phone number, and the CODA phone would be here to answer charter questions throughout the whole month. If you wish to see that you are properly registered, then put the telephone number of the borough clerk. We urge you to vote. You are urged to study the proposed charter and vote. And this could be signed possibly by chairman of the commission.
And published in the paper, or how you going to?
Now, this would be on the little 3. This
No, I'm talking about the proposed charter. Have you got any where it's going to be available?
That's a good idea.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not
Joe?
sure about this one. It's a city publication, and I'm just thinking out loud as to whether people would think that either interpreted either as a city effort to promote the charter or a government effort to promote the charter. You know.
Lisa?
One time in my phone bill, I got something like that. And I got kind of upset about the whole thing. I think the city should be doing something like that. You know, send out the phone bill and that's it. Why include something else that the city shouldn't be really involved in?
The point is that they've been doing it right along for various organizations.
Must have all like it and approved.
Yeah, I
Those
know.
may be, I'm just thinking out loud here, those may be different because obviously those are charities and so forth. But here,
Most recent one was Channel 7 was on the air.
Yeah.
That's a solicitation for funds. Channel 7. Yes, it
It
was.
said education.
got membership.
Yeah, they're soliciting funds.
Well, you know, even if, I see what Joe is saying. Even if we had a little thing like they do on some things that come out of Washington, not printed at government expense kind of thing.
But it is printed government.
Yeah, so that we're caught.
The only thing I see that would have to be so extremely judicious that we're getting into the type of things that the League of Women Voters, the papers, and the Borough Clerk's office should do, in a sense, for free. You know, you have to be
Maybe
registered.
the League of Women Voters
Would do this through the city mailing. I don't have no problem with that.
Do they have that kind of a budget?
They ought to have an action fund of $1,000
They
or
do.
so, shouldn't they, Sherry?
Sure. And if they did the third one, they could come out for just over $500 for the total thing. And if you got onto the first thing tomorrow morning or this evening, even.
That's an excellent idea to have them do it.
Yeah.
In a way, because it almost sounds like basic
Yeah.
voters
Yeah,
information, where you go.
maybe,
If it was sponsored by the League of Women Voters, it would seem sort of nonpartisan, you might say.
Yeah. Or if they don't want to do it, what's his name? Mullet Keller's group might do it.
That's
What is this now, as a mail out?
For this city thing. In other words, we'll have their tag on it,
We didn't do it, they
Prepared by the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters wants you to know about the charter.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to have them or the Keller's group do it.
Okay, so then
Come to it.
maybe I should make an overture to Sandy Stark.
We're just gonna put it out the other again, he tells me. And we're gonna get a charter.
And this will go out just
about the publication.
past, this will go out just in the city bill, not in the Chugach bill.
city
All
bank.
right. See, they cover telephones and everything else.
But
So
it's just the city.
Chugach
this
doesn't,
is area-wide.
Chugach doesn't do
I
that.
wonder what the cost comparison would be to that, to sending out a mail out to the registered voters. 'Cause you're registered.
everybody who ran in this room.
Right away, you scale down your ability to 10 cents per act or 6.1 cents.
Probably talking.
There's 55,000.
You're talking several thousand.
Chugach doesn't do that. They don't do that, it's just the city that does.
Well, if you want a motion on it, do you, or not, Mr. Chairman?
Well, this is just good guidance.
No, I
Let's
think
go
they
ahead
can
and
do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll approach them and ask them about it.
What did you say, Arliss?
I just wanted to try to move things along by saying you need a motion. He feels he's got an answer.
If the league won't do it, I don't feel as comfortable with Millet's group doing it. The league has a different kind of an image than a pro-charter group. Now, the league may have endorsed the charter, but it is considered a nonpartisan, fact-oriented group rather than an advocacy group per se. I would much prefer, I would hope the league would say yes.
Well, the point is, if the league doesn't do it, then by necessity, we'd have to go to Keller if he's available.
Do you have anything else, Pat?
Well, I just wanted to mention that Noah Keller's group really is almost non-existent at this point.
Are they gonna gear up again, or what?
Well, he doesn't see anything on the horizon, but he's volunteered to run interference for us at any speaking occasions. So we have a challenge somewhere along the way.
Why can't he get his group together? Because we're all on the commission.
I suspect maybe that and summertime's hit also.
I rather felt this would happen there, just catch hold.
This fine group didn't fall apart, though, look at it.
No, it's going great, great guns.
Oh, wow.
Anything else, Pat?
Well, I just need some help on some questions and some answers. I can do a lot of writing, but I'd like to shake it down whenever you feel you have the time and tonight's the time, so that we're consistent on replies that we go ahead and put into print. I would like to turn over questions to Phyllis tomorrow so that she can send them back to us sometime the first part of next week in her rewording and in her layout so that the Public Information Committee can look at it and approve it.
When are Frank and Arliss doing their little dog and pony show on finances? You heard about that yet?
No.
Oh, that's, okay, we went through, there are 3 half-hour segments on Channel 13. The first one is responsiveness, the second one is bigness, and the third one is,
No, second one's finance.
okay, the second one's fine.
Who's
Then,
on finance?
why don't you go through the list of who's on
I
what?
think that's August 5th.
Primarily because it's on the wall,
It's on the wall.
but it's
Okay.
Mr. Reed and Arliss, and I'm going to look.
Responsiveness is me and Mary
And Jane.
and Jane.
Lisa, Joe.
I was Frank and Fred on the 5th.
Well, now there's a really,
There's a tree.
there's a great show. That's a great show.
Sherry, Lisa, Joe, and Dick on the 12th.
Sherry, Lisa, Joe, and Dick. Sherry, Lisa, Joe, and Dick.
Dick's the dog.
Jane, Mary, Jim, and Bill on the 29th.
Bob Carroll didn't listen. We finally got there.
I gave you a little report on today's, and maybe it's in your packet on today's meeting for the Personnel Management Society, and they were very, very good. They were very well received.
Several people told me afterwards that they didn't know nothing about it before and that they thought it was very informative, and I didn't know we'd laid that much
I
on.
didn't either.
Well, I don't think you laid too much on them.
Yeah,
After all, no one is going to come away with a cozy feeling about the charter.
Yeah.
No, but we did one thing that was kind of cute, I thought. Old Pat, our stooge in the back of the room, pops up and says, this little thing about this midnight to 7 thing, and Jim just glowing, and I said, well, I was the loyal opposition, and I didn't think it was such a good idea, and I could just, after Jim's, I just sensed, man, they really love that. So I said, well, let's find out what the audience thinks. How many would be in favor of that?
Someone raised 2 hands.
But it was just kind of a gimmick, because we sort of played on the idea that although we've had a commission representative of the many divergent views in the community and lots of debate, everybody really got into the process, and we could never meet everyone's 100% goals, and so it took a lot of compromise. And it was kind of a fun thing, and I think involved the audience.
Yeah.
I enjoyed being the
Get their hands up once and they're with you.
Yeah, it really was.
That's a
That's a
good
good-
thing to use just before the questions, I think, because at that point, then people
Feel participating in
feel
the
as though they're
process.
participating and will ask, I think, questions.
And we did it a little bit the same. I thought Jim was going to carry us into the deep water, but managed to know exactly what he was doing on the form of government. And, he wasn't very happy about it, but, and then, use it as a very effective tool, again, to show that there's debate and diversity, and yet you pick it and move on.
Yeah, my essential summary statement was that it is not the document that any one of us would have written alone, but it is a consensus document that I am going to support.
It's fun.
I didn't cover the Monday chamber luncheon, but that was well received and well done. And for those of you who missed that,
Was there hostility there, or
No.
just basically?
There was no hostility, but they were awful uninspired. They tend to be bland.
They're always that way.
It's hard to.
They're always that
Like
You don't feel like you're.
I didn't think I was Mr. Acceptable.
way. Now, if you just envision a soggy wet rag when you're talking, that's about
But it
it.
wasn't Joe. It was that.
charismatic
It was Frank. I felt it was a feeling of acceptance,
Joe was there.
even if it was passing.
Joe was there. He gave him the what for, but still something went rag.
they got their answers on their referendum to us, and we pacified them, or you pacified them at least halfway, a little more, and didn't get everything they wanted, but some of the things, and Mr. Reed pointed that out. And they were happy about that.
Is it safe to say that the form of government that we've chosen is neither the city form nor the borough form,
She
but
said it.
a combination of the two?
Yeah, but it's
Hybrid.
kind of hard to
Hybrid.
defend the hybrid.
Well, in that
Well,
you have the manager and that you have a limit on the terms, and that makes it in confirmation.
Well, the audience you're talking to is not that familiar with government, and you may be begging trouble when you get into that question. It's best to make
Well,
the
but my
separation
neighbor
and leave it
loved that.
alone.
My neighbor loved that explanation tonight. He said, boy, if you're putting in something
It's-
just like the borough, I'm not going to vote for it.
It's funny,
And I
'cause
said,
I-
but it's not just...
I had 2 conversations. One was with Harry Donahue, who said that my letter to the Times
Yeah, which
was,
I have clipped.
was duplicitous because really what we've done is exactly what he is and what Jack Roderick here, you know. And I said, well, there are
Why?
differences
Why?
because of the confirmation of the military terms and all that. And he said, well, in the context of what you're talking about, though, they're insignificant. The next conversation I had was with Jack Roderick. I said, how do you like the charter? He said, well, I sure didn't like the executive article. I think it's too weak, the confirmation. And he started hitting these same things that Harry thought were insignificant, you know.
Well, does
He said-
the assembly now, they don't confirm the
Don't confirm either the
department head.
manager nor the department heads, and this is different.
And this is plugged into the charter. It's a mandatory, not
So
permissive.
Jack was complaining about that. He or
Either that's no way to run a boat.
Huh?
Either that's no way to run a
Yeah,
boat.
but that is a,
So there are these differences.
Confirmation, limitation of terms.
limitation
In the
of terms.
requirement of to hire a person.
Is it true that the borough presently does not require that the mayor?
It's not in the, I don't believe it's in state statute. And that's
Does he have a manager?
No, he doesn't have to.
And I think that's
it's
significant.
mandatory.
Then I made the media conference that was scheduled for Tuesday morning, although it was not too well attended, turned out really good.
Shaman didn't like it.
He was pretty upset.
What happened?
Why?
Well,
He doesn't
That
have
damn
anybody
Times,
working
he said
at
we're
8
playing
in the
to the
morning.
Times.
Because we had an 8 o'clock, I had 9 in my book.
Yeah.
I had 9 in my book, and that's when I came.
Yeah, it was all done.
Well, that may be my error because I stayed home Sunday and I didn't come to the meeting.
No,
But his complaint was that the time of the press conference was pandering to the Times because their deadline is 10 a.m. And in a sense, I have no objection to that
Since they spend a half a page on
they
it.
gave us the main headline on the front page.
I don't think we should pander to the times either.
As long as you say that after the fact, it's okay.
She came by to talk to my office, to talk about the charter. She brought
did?
Susan Nightingale. She brought with her the first draft. And she said, well, now let's go through Article 1. How is that different? Well, they're all, everything's renumbered. And she had not read or bothered to pick up a copy.
She's probably the same one that called me the other day asking me questions numbered like that, and I told her she
I
had
said,
an
well, why don't you
archaic
go down to the
copy.
charter office and pick up a copy? Read it
She
for
came in
yourself.
today, Joe.
They've had one for ever since.
She is, she's dangerous. She's dangerous, that girl.
Yeah.
She's right.
Should there be a new copy sent to all?
There has been.
To the media?
Yeah, and the other gal took one with her the other morning when she was here for the media conference. So they've got 2 of them over there, I'm sure. I left one on Quinn's desk on Tuesday morning. Now,
Good press so far.
in addition to that, then Mr. Reed and Mr. Josephson went out to Channel 11 and did a news thing. And that is mushrooming into, and it's been confirmed, another couple of programs which will be done by the gal who interviewed you two. And they'll do those programs in addition of their Sunday night hour that they're doing. And because of Channel 13's inability to be down here that morning, they interviewed Fred, asked to have someone out to interview for the news that night. Now, I didn't catch the news that evening. Did you?
Tremendous. It was an excellent program. I have every moment.
Oh, dear.
Excellent.
He was on for a minute and 40 seconds.
A whole minute and 40 seconds?
Well, Joe and I took care of the whole charter in a minute and 27 words.
Use the word cockananny.
Huh?
Did I use the word wrong?
How about individual requests of organizations? I know that we have a few. Are they coming pretty well? Do we need to?
Okay, I can let you know that Patty has been really tied up on the machine, so we've not sent the letters.
But it is on the card now, and with your permission, I'm going to take tomorrow off. But the Kelly girl is going to do
Where are you going, Patty?
Look at all those
59
envelopes.
and home.
Oh!
Sherry, you're a bad influence.
I already told her that I would vote for it.
But I do have a Kelly girl coming in tomorrow who is going to get all of the envelopes done and all of the headings up to my card. So by
The organization.
Monday morning they should be out.
That's for the organization.
Right. I hope you have good weather.
Take off tomorrow and come back Saturday.
In keeping with Patty's observation, and then I'll be through. I just received word today that the Chamber of Commerce is not sending me to the University of Delaware this year, so I'll be around from the 1st to the 10th of August.
Is not doing what?
The Chamber is not going to send me to the University of Delaware this year like they planned.
Well, you're not with them anymore.
That's right.
That's
Right,
right.
I guess you didn't know. But,
So I'll be here.
right. But I'd like to add something, and that is the, I can't think of their name, but I met the guy on the street, the president, he called it to my attention, Apolanos. The Filipino Society would like somebody to talk to them.
Okay.
And they're an ethnic group, so,
And I spoke to
So,
Glenn
Fred,
Briggs,
you ought to
so
go.
to try to get
I don't
something
speak
out in the river.
Filipino.
Mabuhay.
All right,
He's already,
the chamber,
but they're good people.
the chamber called and said something about, they were going to have copies, and Pat provided them copies of the charter for their board meeting tomorrow morning.
Oh, wow. They're gonna
And,
be active.
and that, they were going to ask him to review the charter and then come in and
Who's
vote
gonna
in
review it?
The chamber board.
Oh, I'm on that board.
All right, you'll have a copy tomorrow
Would you
morning.
please do the right thing, Fred?
And,
Should I vote? I can. I'll be
sure, well, they're not gonna vote tomorrow, they're gonna ask him to review the charter, and I kinda feel that a couple of us should be down there, more than just you, Fred.
Well, I'll be
Not tomorrow morning, but whenever they call the special meeting to vote on it.
I'll see to it.
I'd like
I'll
to
make a
be
motion
there, and maybe
tomorrow.
one or two others, Joe and myself.
Okay,
I'll
I'll
be there.
motion
Bring
it.
us the ball.
Yeah, because then if they've got questions before they vote,
It's gonna be harder to vote against you if you're there.
yeah, if they got questions before they want to vote, why, we'll be there to answer.
The one that's really firing this thing up is Ken Hume. Are you having trouble with Ken?
Well,
Well, there's a story.
Huh? But I'll be there tomorrow. I'll motion in case they play any games.
I have a question. Of the people who've gone out and spoken in the group, are there any questions that seem to be coming up over and over again that you all of a sudden have to juggle and try and think about that we might be able to mull over as a group?
What's it going to cost?
Well, we had that one today from someone up in Calais West, which is the hillside, and they needed to be reassured that they
What's
were
he
not...
doing in Hillside, man?
It's in Dallas West.
Oh.
I know.
In zone
They
does.
needed to know that it was not going, they automatically won't be given all these services and have to pay extra. A very simple answer, and I gave a long answer. He wanted a simple answer that, no, nothing in the charter adds services and cost per se. And hopefully, by bringing it together, the inflation and so on, you can be very honest with them and tell them. But there's nothing that we've done in this that are automatically going to create
additional services and costs.
services and costs. And that's the simple answer.
And he
we wanted.
accepted that.
Yeah, and it was, that's going to be very fine.
He said, good, I'm going to write my homeowners association and tell everybody.
And when there's a question, I think it could be very helpful that whoever's speaking to go out to the audience and nab that person that had a question that seemed to, if it's unresolved, like I said, we'd send somebody out to speak to you with the drop of a word, we'd like to get out and we'd like to respond to it. So I think if we're just as open.
His question was concerning the addition of new services in the area.
And it was handled really well.
Do you have anything else, Pat?
Just need some help on some questions and answers.
If there's time after, maybe a few of us.
Why don't we just, all of us scribble out some stuff and just send it in to you?
Well, you probably need
Yes,
it.
Sooner,
You need it yesterday.
the sooner we get that out of the way, the sooner the pamphlet could be produced, the sooner
What
the
is this
printer and we can
pamphlet,
get
or
it
does
back.
everybody know but me? Everybody knows but me.
No, what? You mean what's in it?
I mean, is it going to have wide distribution? What are we doing?
Yes, that goes at Cars, Bilo,
Oh.
Safeway, plus to be used when we speak, anytime.
Basic.
It's just
answers.
a basic question and answer form, background material on what we did, Bill of Rights, background on what the status quo is and how we can be.
Very good.
Voting
And-
information.
And basic questions and answers that have been raised very simply. But the problem is we've got a time lag with printing, and the sooner we can put it together, the sooner we can get it back.
Jane, do you tick off the advantages of it? I mean, do you have,
No.
shouldn't we summarize that? Because most people aren't going to read the charter, but in the brochure, could we put in things like the ombudsman and the commission on Jergens lotion and all that stuff?
Right. Okay, what we don't title that advantages. What we title that is, this is what's in it. The question might be, how do I know this thing is going to be bigger, or that it'll be farther away from me? And the answer might be, we've got an ombudsman, we've got community councils, we have established mechanisms for people to be able to have a government that's more accessible. And that's why the questions and answers are kind of important, because they're the typical questions that people get asked. Also, the Bill of Rights is right there in the front, and that specifies what all those things are.
Yeah, but I think if we can tick off the various advantages, or just points, the highlights of it,
Okay.
I think that would put the guy in the frame to ask more sensible questions.
Okay.
I think things are nipping along swimmingly.
That's getting droopier and
Swimming along.
All right, if you have any,
Taken on my schedule.
You old nipper, it's time to swim.
if you have any further questions to give to Pat or to Jane, think of them and write them down and give them to them, or give them to them by voice and soon.
when you do the question part, come up with an answer that's just about as easy to make up the question, because some of them are pretty hard to do simple.
The one thing I did ask Pat about the other day was the possibility, and he referred me to you, Jim, about taking this, I peeled it with my fingernail, it will peel, if we can take this sign off the window and possibly have a banner put on each side of this building, because I think that in itself will attract a lot of attention where people will just see the word charter.
I can bring down the letters I had on the side of the building while I was running. Just spell out charter in Dayglow orange. All these Jim Parsons does. Just charter.
That's Jim Parsons headquarters.
Oh, by the way, I don't think as a full commission we have discussed the role of people who are running as far as public information is concerned. And in committee we've talked about not providing a forum for individuals who are running for office after they have opted to,
After they file.
after they file.
There goes your commission.
Up to August 8th or whatever date they file, they're commissioners. We have no knowledge of what they're going to do until they've done it. And as far as I'm concerned, they function just like every other commissioner, but the instant they file, then we've got to take them off our commissioner list.
Must be a lot.
Okay. Now, does everybody agree to that, or does anybody of this?
I don't see how it can be any other way. It's not a question of agreeing.
I don't know.
The media have their rules laid out, and that's it.
Because you got an
After
equal time,
people have filed for office,
you got an
we
equal
don't
time
want them up
provision.
front working on public information related to the charter, which would give them a forum for running their campaigns.
Which would cause us to have an equal time provision, which
Yeah.
would disallow us from having any more time.
Now, that is more important for media than it is for speaking groups, I suppose. Now, do you feel the same way about service
don't know.
clubs?
Well, I think service clause, no, I don't think it should affect the service clause or anything like that. I think where the media is concerned, or where the equal time provision applies, that any commission member who's running for office should be absent of that. But I don't see the harm where you're talking about appearances before groups.
I would feel this way about it: if there are appearances before groups, and Fred Shiver running for office, and he wanted to appear with somebody else who was not, there should be not more than one reference to the fact that he's running.
Yeah, I think that's...
I think actually there should be no reference to the fact, in my estimation, but that's almost impossible to avoid.
He should appear there strictly as a commissioner.
Yeah.
And not
And now, listed here under new business, information regarding Ms. Roney's initiative and referendum. And in the packet, about third sheet down, is a memo to Mary Coffey from Rich Wining, assistant attorney. The subject is the effect of a referendum and initiative, and it's a page and a half, or almost 2 pages. And I think Rick has had an opportunity to go over it since he got back. And I'd like Rick to speak to it on what he sees differently than this, or agrees with it or not.
With Dick's memo?
Yeah.
Well, but I haven't really looked at it to that extent. I have read it, and I think that generally it's correct. I am personally in a tough position here, I think, because I think that the commission too.
I was going to ask, would somebody summarize the memo, since most of us have not read it? What does it say in essence without...
It's hard to summarize.
Yeah, I think it's just too...
It's very good, Dick.
Well, I haven't read it.
You should. It's hard to summarize.
If you want, I'll be
Frank?
glad to read it.
Frank, I'd like to read that section B under 2928-090.
I don't think it would be good if this... Yeah.
When they
Frank, I would like to have
letter.
you read it.
All right, let me read the memorandum, only take a minute or so. An initiative act enacts new legislation. A referendum repeals or vetoes existing legislation. A referendum cannot repeal that which does not exist. Assuming that the initiative and referendum prepared by Mary Froney receive sufficient signatures, they will have the following effect upon borough and charter elections. The referendum should be held on the September 9th election along with the charter, as Alaska Statute 29.28090 requires that the referendum be presented at the next special or general election after it is filed. The only way in which placing the referendum on the September 975 ballot can be avoided is for the Assembly to repeal Ordinance Number 75-145. If it does so, it cannot enact an ordinance which is substantially similar within 1 year.
Question.
Yes,
Which ordinance is that one?
That was Plan 1.
that's the ordinance.
And at the present time, that's tabled, is that what's happened to it, or?
The scheduling of it is it's tabled until scheduling of election for that purpose.
Which has not happened.
Not taking
Okay.
place. The referendum will have no effect either upon the charter election or election of officers under the charter. The referendum petitions the Greater Anchorage Area Borough Assembly and the Charter Commission, elected in February 1975, to repeal Ordinance Number OR 75-145 unless it is amended to offer the voters a choice between this multi-member Assembly District plan and a single-member Assembly District plan, either 3 or 4 as illustrated in the proposed ordinances number 75-147 and 75-148. When the referendum was drafted, the charter adopted by reference the multi-member apportionment plan, which set forth in ordinance number 75-145, which was adopted by the Borough Assembly. If charter retained this plan, it would be bound by the referendum and its operations suspended until the referendum could be voted on. However, the referendum does not affect the charter because the charter in its final form did not adopt the ordinance which the referendum seeks to repeal. The Charter Commission has no authority to repeal a borough ordinance, and so far as the charter goes, the referendum cannot repeal a non-existent provision. A referendum can only repeal existing legislation. Andrews versus City of San Bernardino, Whitmore versus Carr, State versus City Commission of Lighthouse Point, Florida. If the charter passes, the referendum will have no effect because the Borough Assembly will have ceased to exist. 4, if the charter fails and the referendum passes, the Borough Assembly should be elected under the present apportionment plan at the November general election. To prevent the Department of Community and Regional Affairs from stepping in and effecting reapportionment after the October 15 deadline, an ordinance presenting the choices called for in the referendum should be placed on the same ballot to go into effect at the general election of 1976. Technically, the apportionment plan should be approved prior to October 15, 75, or the Department of Community and Regional Affairs is obligated to prepare the new apportionment. Hopefully, the state would not act pending the vote upon the apportionment ordinance in November, since a good faith effort is being made to correct the existing malapportionment. 5, if the charter passes, the initiative is to go on to the October 1976 general election ballot. If the charter fails, the initiative is to be placed on the November 75 borough election ballot. Placing an apportionment plan on the November 75 election ballot, such as that called for by the initiative, would prevent the initiative from being placed on the ballot. If the initiative passes,
Wait a minute, I didn't understand it.
placing an apportionment plan on the November 75 election ballot, such as that called for by the initiative, would prevent the initiative from being placed on the ballot. In other words,
Yeah.
the initiative goes on the ballot. If it's approved, then the following year, the plan goes on the ballot. Is that right, Mary?
Within 60 days, the plan will go on the ballot.
60 days. All right. If the initiative passes, an election will be held, here it is, on a multi-member versus single-member plan within 60 days to go into effect at the 1976 general election, assuming that the Department of Community and Regional Affairs has not intervened. Well,
Frank, I would like to read the state law
Mary?
quotation, if I may, please. It's speaking about referendum. If a sufficient petition for referendum is filed within 30 days after final passage of the ordinance or before the effective date of the ordinance against which the petition is filed shall be suspended pending the referendum on the ordinance. During the period of suspension, the Assembly or Council may not enact an ordinance substantially similar to the suspended ordinance, but may repeal the suspended ordinance. So the question here that is being spoken to is whether, as intended by the initiative and referendum, which were stapled together and signed in pairs by the majority of signers, and as the initiative spoke to all multiple member districts as to being multiple member district philosophy, and single member districts being single member district philosophy, and the initiative spoke that they could choose any of the multiple member district philosophies, any of the one, and it would meet that requirement. I think you'll find that the judge will decide that this is a similar apportionment, and that it does affect it.
Mary,
But that's up to you folks to decide whether or not you think so, because the judge will make that
What
decision.
judge?
The Superior Court judge.
all right, Mary, do I understand then that you intend to take this to the...
Yes, I do.
Do you intend to do that shortly?
Tomorrow.
Well, then I don't think I can ask Rick what his position is, because he's going to have to appear, no doubt. I believe
Mr.
so.
Chairman,
That's my problem. Yeah.
The
Mary, have you notified the press of your action?
The referendum.
Back now.
The referendum is worded in such a manner that it would not have any effect on delaying in any manner the charter, so long as the people are given a choice in it. And I want to point that out to you.
Joe, you had a question?
I'm not clear, Mary, you're suing who for what?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Who are the defendants and what is it that you're asking?
it would be the Charter Commission and the Assembly. If either body, which at the moment both bodies are proposing to make law for the same general area, and both of them are proposing to have it approved of by the same voters, and the referendum is intended to speak to those bodies.
Yeah, but what relief do you want the Charter Commission to grant you at this point? What could we be ordered to do?
You could be ordered to give the voters a choice, as required by the referendum, if you did not wait until the referendum had been voted upon.
I'm confused. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Can I ask a question?
Jane?
According to this memo, the situation is right now, if you've got enough signatures.
That is Dick's interpretation of it. I say there are other interpretations
All right,
of it.
then, let me just cover this. We've got a referendum which is going to be on the ballot come hell or high water. Is that true?
That's true.
And,
Unless the conditions are met.
okay,
But the
now,
referendum speaks
stop
to-
right there. We have no choices left. The referendum has been filed with the clerk.
Yes, you do have
She's
choices.
checking, and it's not our ordinance. We didn't make it, they did. We don't have the power to make ordinances.
We can't
So,
change it because
so
of
as
the
I understand it, the referendum is on the ballot, period. Unless the Borough Assembly amends their ordinance, which has nothing to do with the charter since we didn't adopt it in the first place. Is that correct?
This speaks to similar proposed laws.
But we haven't passed one.
And we will never pass one, Mary.
No,
from
I'm
our
aware of
standpoint.
it.
We're-
No,
we're
I'm
the
just
people that-
trying
But-
to get this all straight. Because as I understand it, it's completely out of our hands now. We've got nothing to do anymore with
I believe
what
you're
you're
mistaken.
proposing.
I believe you're mistaken. That's what I'm telling you.
What
I
do you,
believe you're
what do you
mistaken.
think we can do?
I believe that you can meet the requirements of the referendum without causing the
As I
election
understand it,
to postpone.
we didn't have anything to do with that
All right,
ordinance.
now we've covered that. Let's go to Lisa.
How can we change the charter when we've already given it to the Borough Assembly? We can't go back and say, okay, we're going to take this reapportionment map out, and we're going to put in two different ones, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to put on a whole new election and change the
No, I
date.
believe you're mistaken, Lisa. I believe you're mistaken.
Okay, what's the
I
option?
believe that there is a certain period of time within which you can amend that portion. Until folks start filing on it, I believe that you can
So
amend
would
it.
you suggest
I have a-
that we change?
So the Borough Assembly can't change any of it, but we can go back
I
and...
don't. I have a question to the legal people, and that is, as I understand it, you're going to the commission is going to be mentioned in the suit. Well, you're suing yourself, aren't you? You're a commissioner.
The Assembly has been sued by Assembly members too.
Well, Mr.
Joe?
Chairman, some of you,
I don't understand how that's going.
some of you understand this better than I do. But
We're in trouble.
I don't see.
I was eating
I don't see you. I mean, the fact is, Mary, as I recall, we've acted completely reasonably at all stages. We asked the Assembly, at your suggestion, largely, to give a choice. We twice carried that to the Assembly. Notwithstanding your support of that as an Assemblyman, the Assembly declined to do that. We then refrained from adopting their plan, and with your support, adopted Plan 5 as a compromise and inserted that in the charter. We then adopted a charter with your concerns and presented it to the Assembly. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why I'm what I've done wrong. And if I've done and what
No, I don't think you have. I agree with you on the two-member district, and let me explain why. The two-member district is the sort of multiple-member district that for the new government could be changed to a single-man district without causing any disruption in local government in the least,
by splitting them.
by splitting the districts, as I pointed out last week.
Yes. All right.
At the moment when the initiative and referendum were begun and when they were filed, the Charter Commission was still proposing that the people be given their choice. Now, I had nothing to do with the later change in decision that said that the people would no longer be given their choice. But the referendum and the initiative had already been filed, and if there are enough, that's what is apt to happen.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just pursue this, if I have the same statute you're reading from 090B that says if a sufficient petition and so forth, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance against which the petition is filed shall be suspended pending the referendum on the ordinance. During the period of suspension, the Assembly or Council may not enact an ordinance substantially similar to the suspended ordinance, but may repeal the suspended ordinance. My impression is, as someone else mentioned, they're talking about ordinances, they're talking about a continuing legislative body. Our legislative work, our constitutional work is complete and is submitted to the voters, and
The judge may decide so. In the meantime, it'll be waiting for the time for the judge to decide.
All right, it's your turn.
I haven't gotten one. I just received this opinion
See,
tonight.
this is my problem, Mr. Chairman. I'm not, as counsel for the commission in this matter, I should not be talking with a litigant against the commission directly. I'm ethically inclined to deal with her through her attorney. And it makes me kind of uncomfortable.
I just have one comment at this point, and it doesn't relate at all to the merits of Mary's suit. What it relates to is the important overriding concern of unification of the governments. We have had one lawsuit clouding the air during the writing of the charter, and I think it was an unfortunate thing to have.
I do too. I have tried to
Mary,
avoid
I'm
this.
speaking on it. To have another such thing happen, I think it would be too bad, and I'll be very sorry, Mary, quite frankly, if you pursue
Well,
this course.
Sherry, I'll be sorry if the Charter Commission refuses to allow the people to have their choice.
Mary, we have known for your choice.
no,
I think we do.
we argued for that, and we were put into a position where we had to come down and make a judgment, and we pointed out that the charter is amendable, and I just don't think that's. We could not do that and have this election at the same time, but Mary's objective can be reached after the charter is enacted.
That's the point. Mary, why not consider retracting that and amending at a later date?
Lisa?
The charter, according to the way the referendum is written,
Joe?
could be go ahead under the two-man district without being interfered with.
Could I just say one more thing, Lisa?
I want to ask you.
Mr. Reed and I were before the Borough Assembly, and you were out of town, Arliss, and there were members of the Assembly who said, how come the election is going to be at the same time? Can we amend that? We want to change that. We don't like having this election of officers on September 9. And Mrs. Froney said, and we said, that that everything within this paper, from front to back, is an inherent or intrinsic part of the document and cannot be changed. And I think it would be inconsistent for us, even if it was legal, to now say to the Assembly, gee, we rethought, you couldn't change it, and we couldn't consider your recommendation, but we are now going to come back and
Joe, does those statutes right there say that we can, within a certain period of time, go back and amend it?
I haven't looked at
No,
that.
it
I haven't
does.
seen anything to do that. This statute right here doesn't talk about charter commissions. It talks about city councils. and
But
borough
once we
assemblies.
file, and once we give it to the Borough Assembly, then we,
It's out of our
if we
It's
don't,
out of our
we can't do
Mr.
nothing.
Chairman,
Arliss?
I'm not going to enter into a lot of debate, and I don't think that's the issue, but there's one thing that has really impressed me by this Charter Commission. We inherited, along with the Charter Commission formation and the really charge by the community to develop a charter, some very difficult problems that came about with Eagle River coming back and becoming a part of it. And I think we've spent many, many hours of debate and concern looking for ways to really give the least possible confusion for the voter. It's meant many voters, so many elections that had to be. I think that the decision that you made when I was out of town to allow the charter and the people to run at the same time did the greatest thing you could have done to cut down on possible voter confusion and upset and really abuse of the number of elections. And I just feel that in order to gain a point, that we are again putting the general voter of this community in a very difficult position. It's hard for them to understand what's happening in the simplest of terms because of the complexity of bringing two existing major governments together. And I feel sorry for the voters. It's going to be extremely difficult for them to understand what's being done to them.
Is there,
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that this really, I don't think there's anything that we could do. I don't think that there's any relief we could give if we wanted to give it. My own view, and I know Mary is sincere and feels she has advice in this, and she may have a claim against some other party, I don't know, but insofar as a suit against the commission is concerned, on the basis of what I know, I think it's virtually frivolous, and I would hope that the Charter Commission, if it's confronted with that, would very promptly instruct Mr. Garnett to move for its dismissal and clear that out of the question. That's my view.
Yeah, the only thing that would worry me is that in the interim, during the filing period for candidates, the effect of this frivolous suit would so confuse people that we might not have the best people filing for the offices because they might feel that they would be involving themselves in something that's a little bit more uncertain. All we gain through a suit of this sort is further confusion. And
Jane?
I'm confused about another legal point. And Joe, you can help me out.
Since I don't represent anybody,
Rick is bound
I
up.
don't have a client, so I can talk.
No, I'm just curious about law. As I understood, the method that one goes about for taking care of laws they don't like is to initiate a referendum, which recalls that law, and then suggest an alternative. And I'm not familiar with the procedure that Mary's suggesting, where you sue the government because they didn't do what you want them to do. Is that common? I'm just not. I mean, not even common. Is that what you do? I just don't know.
Well, I gather that her point is that well, let me go back to something else. I gather that her point under 090B is that you have made a sufficient petition for referendum, and that therefore the ordinance against which the petition is filed, it must be suspended pending the referendum. Is that your point?
And substantially some similar ordinances. In other words, one's intended to do similar things.
All right. It may not be enacted, but I wish Mr. Garnett could answer this. But as I understand it, the ordinance you object to is the ordinance number 75-145, which in effect is suspended without your suit, because the Borough Assembly has said that the Charter Commission election will come first. Ordinance 75-145 is not in effect now, and it would not become, I mean, it seems to me your suit almost is not right unless the charter fails. If the charter fails, and you may have something against the government of the borough under that section. But there is no, I mean, the Assembly's agreed not to implement that ordinance until the charter.
I'm not talking about that ordinance. I'm talking about similar to.
Well, they haven't enacted one after.
The object in the ordinance that was spoken to was just to put it on the ballot for the people to vote on. And the charter is just putting it in on the ballot to allow the people to vote upon it. They do exactly the same thing. They're exactly parallel.
But the point is, may I just finish this? The section says, Mary, very clearly that what is prohibited is that once you have stayed the effect of an ordinance by your referendum, and as I said, the ordinance you object to, which I understand you object to, is stayed by action of the Assembly pending the outcome of the charter election without a judge, that during the period of suspension, the Assembly or Council, and we are not an Assembly or Council, may not enact an ordinance substantially similar to the suspended ordinance. And the Borough Assembly has not enacted an ordinance similar to the one that is 75-145. So I think
And one more question.
Jane?
Should the charter pass, would not the people who have created the ordinance or that law then be the voters of the community of Anchorage versus any higher body that you could sue?
Fred?
I don't know, Mary, I don't know what your future plans are, but a piece of sage advice that I would give would be,
Drop the adjective.
this kind of an action that you're taking could hurt yourself politically, and I'll drop it. Just think about that statement.
Let me tell you something. I have never cared whether I had a political career or not. I still don't.
Well, you want to help
But I
yourself
very much object to people being taken advantage of in my neighborhood, or my town, or my state, by any individuals or groups. And the initiative and referendum is to assure that that isn't done. As I've tried to point out to you several times,
Mary,
there's a conflict of interest for any elected bodies to choose their own constituencies.
I don't deny the
You may
law.
not like it. You may not like the way I stand, but I don't give a hoot about a political career one way or the other.
Mary, there may be a lot of logic to what you say, and there's a time and place to do it. And I think the time for what you want to do is better served at a later date than doing it now.
All right?
That's all I'm saying.
Let's not let this go down, and I'm not going to entertain any more discussion. I think the sense of the commission is clear, that the commission feels basically, Mary, that it can do nothing about it, and I think that's clear from the discussion.
That's
I
fine.
don't think there needs to be any motion or anything else, and should you choose to go to the court with it, I'm sure that the sense of the commission would be to have somebody, of course, defend the commission, which includes
I
you
understand.
yourself.
Mr. Chairman?
All right, Sherry?
I would appreciate having the advice of our attorney if we're about to be sued, so I would request that we go into executive session and that
And I'll
Mary
be happy to
absent
leave.
herself.
Are you going to take up anything further tonight?
At the close of business.
There's nothing further to be taken up tonight, Mary, unless
Right.
it be comments on public
Could
appearances,
I
and
just-
we've already covered that.
You know,
Mr. Joseph?
I apologize if I'm kind of arguing a case in which I'm a prospective defendant. Obviously I'm not objecting. I gather, I'm sure, Mary, that you do intend to obtain counsel, and I would only ask that you would, for your sake and the sake of unification, bring to counsel's attention what the discussion here tonight has been and what problems others see in this, and see if perhaps, because I know that you would not want to use the court in a suit that has no merit, and see if perhaps he would not agree that some of those arguments are so overwhelming, at least as far as the charter commission is concerned, as to make us.
This was my request too, Mary, that you get a good lawyer. Please get
Like
a good
Joe
lawyer.
Joseph.
Conflict of interest.
I agree with Joe. I think rather than go in executive session, let's let Mary think it over and have the advice of counsel, and then if she still wants to press the action, go from that point. But I don't think we need an executive session on this. I really don't.
Well, there's been a request, but not a motion. And if there's a motion, there has been a second. Here.
Well, I don't feel that strongly about it. I do feel that we have put Rick in somewhat of an awkward position, having to sit here and listen to all of this with his mouth shut. I wouldn't want to be in that position. If there are any comments that he would like to make to us about the way we should conduct ourselves between now and our next meeting, I'd like to hear it, but I don't want to press him.
Mr.
Okay.
I would like to appeal to you, Marion, to not give this the media to Sue with that.
Horace Greeley is
Gentleman
sitting
is right behind you.
I know, but what I'm saying is, I'm working on one end with the media to tell them unification is a good thing. And I really hate to have you on the
I
other
think
side
it,
of the
I'm
fence.
not on the opposite side.
With
I'm
the
on
same
exactly the
media.
same side.
I know. Well, I understand your motivation. I think it's just that it's going to get real confusing out there in people land about what's going on. Already I'm confused, and I'm supposed to know what's going on. So that I just appeal to you to consider some of those other things, particularly legislation.
All right.
I'm sure if Mary has a chance to think it over and discuss it with her attorney, that we may have a different shade of things here. So I just assume
I
that
doubt
Mary...
it. I've been telling you for 3 weeks that this is what was going to happen, and you didn't want to listen.
We've listened, Mary, but I think you're going to get some sage advice from counsel. I think listen to your counsel, and then, as Joe proposes, then let's go from there.
When you're so concerned about not hurting your folks, think about the whole community and the folks out there who are going to be hurt.
Greg, I could say...
Mr. Chairman,
You want to imply that my friends exist only in one spot, and they can exist downtown.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move on to the next item on the agenda.
Is there any other?
The only other item on the agenda before an executive session, if there were to be an executive session, would be the comments on public appearances. I think we've pretty well covered that. So if the commission feels that they should have an executive session, I would not object. The chair will entertain a motion to that effect. I think Rick should be able to give us a few words before.
I don't know, it's up to you. I can give you my view as to where we stand potentially at this point based on what I've seen, heard, and my impression as to what the law requires. If you want to hear that, I don't think it would take very long. Otherwise, no big deal.
I think we should do it because timing may be so
All right, there'll be a motion and the chair will entertain a motion.
I move that we have an executive session to consider the prospect of litigation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we have an executive session to consider the prospect of litigation.
Whatever that word was you used a lot.
All those in favor? All those in favor?
Just click on.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Aye.
Not executive session. Jim? You're
Lisa is
opposed.
opposed.
I'll oppose that on the basis that I think we want to give her a chance to discuss it with her attorney.
Three.
Well,
But
why shouldn't we have a chance to discuss it with our attorney first? I mean, I would like
It
to
may
have,
very well be after she discusses it with her attorney, she'll change her mind.
that's...
Mr. Chairman, question?
Question has been called, and we'll do it on a roll call, seeing there's a question.
If we don't have any...
Anglin?
Yes.
And this is to go into executive session.
Yes.
All right,
Just
let's go.
How privileged
try.
is she?
Yes, go ahead.
Legal advice is privileged, isn't it?
Troney?
Sir?
I'd kind of like to hear it so I can put this thing in
Holmes?
some kind of context if I can.
Yes.
Holmes?
No problem.
Josephson? Parker?
No.
Parsons?
No.
Reed? Yes. Sturgill-Lewski? Yes. Motion is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 2.
What?
5 to 2.
Fail.
Failed.
Procedural motion.
Okay, move to
Well, it's gotta be 6 to 2 or 5 to 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 to 2, pardon me.
You drink or you can't count.
I can't count. 6 to 2, so motion passed.
Well, Mr. Chairman, what is the situation with Fred's news?
Well,
It's off the record. He can hear it, but it's off the record.
well, I don't know whether that's
We should.
too good.
Okay, let me,
Undertake to talk with her once
Yes.
more?
Yes.
What?
We're back.
One more time.
We're back in regular session, and the next order of business, I guess, would be an adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Stroke of genius.
do we have a meeting next Thursday? Do we have a schedule?
No, no, no.
Need a vote. We're adjourned.
Jim, can I see you for a minute?
Is there a meeting next week?
Turn it off, Joe.